Hello, everybody. This is Mark from Newsweed.com. I'm your typical unprofessional investor with bad teeth and doesn't know what questions to ask Eric Holmlin. Well, yesterday I gave you from my notes a detailed rundown of most of what I talked about to Eric. But now I'm going to give you off the cuff why I sold the stock and why I no longer support BNGO. Many people had come to me and said, hey, this stock is very dangerous. Some professional people, actually one guy from Bloomberg TV, another guy who is a financial person on a radio station. They happen to be friends of mine. They said, hey, get out. That was December 11th. That if I had listened to them, I would have been up another $1.5 million. But I didn't listen, which is foolish. When I went to see Eric, I was so pleased to go into the company to kind of give an idea. But a couple of things really kind of jumped out at me and made me cautious. For one, to get to the background, is I made $1.8 million in the market last year. What does that mean? I have to pay taxes. My portfolio is going to be affected when I pay $600,000 in taxes. Let's just face it. I mean, these things have to be paid, right? So I couldn't afford to see the stock go from $1.94 down to $1. So I wanted to see what's happening in the company. I went to take a look at the company, speak to Eric, and I'll tell you, these are the things that really popped out at me. Once I was greeted at the door and we're walking through the company, nobody's saying hello to the CEO. I mean, if I'm a CEO, and I've been a CEO at my company, and I'm walking through the office, everybody wants to talk to me because I'm the guy who increases their paycheck and so forth. So I was a little perplexed by that. Nobody saying, hello, Mr. Holmlin, hello, good morning. Good morning. It was just a very, very funeral-like atmosphere in the company. Okay? So that was red flag number one. I did point out that he was very vague and he was trying to avoid questions. I do understand the points that you're making, that CEOs that have to report accordingly cannot say everything. But the questions I asked were pretty basic. And I want to tell you this right now. All of your heroes out there, the YouTubers, they're the ones who gave me the questions to ask. So the comments that you're making, that those are stupid questions and he can't answer those questions, okay. I want to respect all of you, but they really came from people like Mr. Invest a Lot and so forth. As far as me selling my stock, I sold it because I just don't have faith in the company. If you walk in and you see a bad atmosphere in a company, then you have to make your decision. I'm not trying to make a decision for you. I don't give financial advice. All I want to do is participate in this community of investors that try to gather information from YouTube, from StockTwits, from Yahoo, from going to visit a CEO, from listening to analysts. The information in the stock market is so vague, you have to do so much more to find the information. Here's a real scary thing that I want to point out. The amount of bashing on that video, the amount of comments on social media, it's pretty scary. What it tells me is that you all, or most of you, are on the same mindset, and you just repeat what you've heard on social media. I don't know how many repeat comments I saw, but I've read all of them. I tried to respond to every one of them. Very few people called me. I would say 2 people called me yesterday, and I'm open to conversation because you make me learn. When I talk to you, I get ideas. I had a gentleman yesterday recommend a stock to me that I should look at. It seemed very interesting. So I'm taking a look at that. I'm always looking for investment opportunities. I'm not a small investor. I take big risks, and that's how I made my money. And that's how I hope to make money this coming year. Time will tell. The market has been horrific. We have a situation in this world right now. We have political problems in the United States. We're going to have a changing of the guard, most likely, from Democrat to Republican. We have a crisis in Europe, whereas Russia believes that, hey, NATO is getting aggressive on our border. We're reporting that, hey, Russia is going to invade Ukraine. We have a person, like Vladimir Putin, who does not like to lose, and he's very smart. He's brilliant. Okay, nobody can take that away from him. He's running the gas price up. He sells gas. He's making a fortune just through turmoil. I wouldn't expect an invasion immediately because it's wintertime. Wintertime tells me that he can get that price up while demand is forced up. So I wouldn't expect an invasion of Ukraine until probably when things warm up a bit, and or America makes some ridiculous concessions to Putin, which they probably, with the Biden being in a situation with midterm elections, he's going to try not to look weak. So we do have a big crisis. When that happens, and again, why did I bring this up? Because my stock, BNGO, 800,000 shares, I thought could go in half if Russia invaded or if gas prices were escalating. So simple. So simple. I don't believe in stock families. I believe in investing according to what you believe will happen. We are all prognosticators way beyond February 2nd, Groundhog Day, although I love that movie. And we have to prognosticate what the future is. Each and every one of us. If we act like sheep and we just follow the patterns that we are told on stock boards and on other YouTubers' channels, we're screwed. Specifically with BNGO, I talk to investors all the time. People sent me out there, find out what's happening with FDA. That's the number one thing. Well, FDA is not going to happen. And what gave me a red flag is knowing the Theranos case. I think where she got herself in trouble is when she claimed that the test could give results to people. Now, it looks like Eric is smart enough not to get into that area. If his machine is not perfect or if there's challengers coming up, then the last thing he wants to do is get involved in giving someone a false diagnosis. I mean, Theranos is definitely on everybody's mind. Now, here's another thing. I read that Duke University had a company coming out that raised $300 million, okay, around the same time that Bionano Genomics raised $300 million, that was getting into the OGM space. Now, don't forget, this technology was developed back in the 90s. The patents themselves, and again, I'm guessing, I do not know the exact date of the patent going out, but being in the patent office myself several times, I do know you have 20 years. You have 20 years to develop that patent and protect it. So if this happened in the 90s, that's 30 years ago, right? So this came from Han Kao. Another negative, speaking of Han Kao, is he's not involved with the company at all. He's the inventor. He's the one with the passion. He's the one who wanted to drive it forward. So basically we have a technology, when I've always thought this, that was purchased, right, and then being driven forward. Well, when you do that, just like with my inventions, you don't have the true 100% vision. The conclusions that this is what it is never what it is for an inventor. An inventor is always looking for a better way and trying to improve the product. Without having the inventor on staff, you're kind of stagnant. Now, I asked a question about financials to Eric, and quite frankly, I didn't get an answer. I accept that. But I did pose this. If you spend $50 million and you had $329 million, let's take that off. Now we have $280 million. And then we were spending $20 million per quarter on other things. So that brings us down to $260 million. Now, if there's no surprises, that's what the cash should be right now, about $260 million. That's a big cut from $360 million a year ago. That was raised by diluting shares. So diluting shares is good. As a matter of fact, I told Eric, I think you were smart to offer shares when the stock price was at 6 or 7 and the hype was going way up. And I said, by the way, did you pump the stock? And is somebody pumping the stock? And I asked that question for one reason. Messenger of Moiseville and others, Cisco Trader, whatever, they all say the same thing. And then when I talked to Eric, word for word, that's what I heard. That made me very cautious. And I'm like, wow, is this guy Messenger of Moiseville? I mean, what is going on here? Yes, I have met many CEOs. I've been personal friends with some CEOs, and I've worked for companies. And I'll give you an example. Back in the 90s, I had closed my large roofing business. And because I have an education as well, I said, well, let me reinvent myself. So I worked for a company, symbol ACRT, Act Trade International. Well, he hired me as a national sales manager because I'm relatively good at communication. And he wanted me to bring sales up so we can bring the stock price up. So to motivate me, he gave me 240,000 shares of stock at $2. Well, at the time, the stock was selling for $2. So I'm out there hustling and bringing in customers. And every customer I brought him, he didn't want. He didn't want any of my customers. I'm like, what the heck is going on? But I saw the sales going up, and he had this notebook, and he used to take a paper out, and, that was the sale, or something like that. Something along those lines. Well, I was suspicious. I said, what the hell is going on here? So it was a new career for me. I'm used to lifting heavy things and putting roofs down and making things not leak. That's my passion. I was certainly capable of doing that job, but I didn't feel comfortable. Sure enough, I was right. I told him, his name was Amos Aharoni. He was faking the sales. Faking the sales. So I went home to my wife at the time, beautiful, lovely brunette, Irish and Italian girl. And I said, I have to leave this job. Oh my God, she took a fit. You fight with everybody. You look at things differently. You're totally wrong. You're an idiot. Oh, geez, it sort of sounds like you guys. Maybe you guys can get together because I'm not going near that ex-wife. Well, I left the job. Here I am, unemployed. I got 3 kids. I'm pursuing other things. In the meantime, time goes on. On the boards, there was this guy named Mr. Pink. Mr. Pink kept making comments about Act Trade International. Oh, this is fraud. There's something going on. I think Mr. Pink was in the office. Well, guess what? 5 years after I left, the FBI raided the office. Already, Amos Aharoni, he had fled to Israel. He's not around anymore. So, do I have experience in kind of spotting problems? Yes, I do. I definitely do. I spotted problems at Ocugen. I had 1 million shares there. I sold out at about $2.80. The stock went to $18. I started telling everybody, hey, there's something wrong in this company. You don't go from being in an AI business to being in COVID business. Well, the stock is about $350 right now, and it's heavy in the shorts. So I would say there's some problems there. Another company I pointed out that I owned about 250,000 shares, is iBio. I went to a stockholders meeting. They had an address, and nobody was there for the stockholders meeting. Now, that's not unusual because investors tend to think that, well, I'll just read the press release. But the fact is, when you go to a stockholders meeting, you meet a lot of people and you learn a lot. They put the wrong address down intentionally. I was at a building in which there was no office there. I said, I'm here for iBio stockholders meeting. Oh, security says we don't have an iBio in this company. I said, well, here it is. Here's the address. It's listed right here. No. Well, in that lobby, I sold my shares. I don't know, I made about $500,000, but that stock went to $8. Is that selling too early when you know something is wrong? No, I don't think so. So here we are. I'm happy for all of you that the stock right now, pre-market, is trading at $2.31. That's great. But I don't have the faith in BNGO anymore. So if I have knowledge, maybe wrong, okay? I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I left the job. I sold my shares. All I can tell you is that I give you what my gut says. My gut said to get out. Okay, I gave you the reasons why I wanted to sell. Worried about Russia. Worried about who I met, Eric. I'm sorry to say this, but I don't trust the guy. Okay, I know how to communicate quite well with people. The questions I ask were accurate, and quite frankly, if I was asked those questions, I would see how I'm saying I'm sorry for legal reasons. I can't tell you that. I wouldn't be scribbling on the board trying to avoid it. He's not smarter than I am. He's a PhD. That means he went to school a lot. That's it. I've dealt with many PhDs and I've employed PhDs. Okay? I know what they're about. You go to school long enough, the testing is not that difficult. You're in the genomic space. People are hungry to make money. People are hungry to make a spot, even if you've lost. I pointed out something very, very important to you in the video. Look her up. Anne Lurie, Lurie. She married Sam Zell's partner. If any of you are familiar with Sam Zell, look him up. Very wealthy guy. He's an older guy now. His partner, who was a mensch, died. Anne Lurie was a nurse. Well, with the money that she inherited, she started a children's hospital in Chicago. Okay? I asked Eric, do you have your machine at the children's hospital? Since your machine is focused on cancer and pediatric cancers, wouldn't that be appropriate since you worked with her? And he pointed out, no. So I would say, in my opinion, I sold the stock because I lost faith in BNGO because they're not going for FDA and they're not going to be a diagnostic tool. There's too few labs and too difficult to get into the labs because people don't like to change equipment. It costs the company money. People know what technology. Three, I don't think anybody was aware that preparing the blood was so difficult just to get into the machine. It's a long process just to prepare the blood. That's a cost to these labs that they are not used to and may be hesitant about using this machine, even if it can read more. And the question is, do you have to use somebody else's machine to get that blood prepared? That was a red flag to me. That's all there is to it. But most of all, I'm sorry to say I did not trust Eric Holmlin. So I appreciate the insults. I never thought that I would be on camera talking about my investments, but to be honest with you, every comment that you make to me, I learn from. I'm not insulted at all. I just want to support my family. I've been extremely poor. That job I left, didn't put me in a good financial position. I've had a rough life, but I've been lucky to go to the greatest capitalist institution in the world, the stock market, and make some money, much more money than I've ever made, and pay a lot of taxes, and meet a lot of people. But what I don't think you should do is be in that stock fam. It's not going to help you. Things can go bad real fast, as we saw. On November 1st, we're $6. Today, we're $2.32. So, I've learned a lot. And I've listened to everybody. And everybody is right half the time and wrong half the time. So I wish you all the best. I want you to just keep pounding with me with those comments. I'm not going to give up. I'm probably going to buy TELL today. I do believe that gas is a good investment for the moment. As I said, I don't think Putin's going in until the spring. He would be a fool not to capture as much profit from his gas as possible. He doesn't really want this to settle down. So my investment will be in gas. Right now, I'm probably going to invest in TELL this morning. Can't be sure. I got to read more. I got to look into more. But anybody that can ship gas to Europe is probably going to be a pretty decent play for the next 6 months to a year, because we don't know what else is going to pop up. By the way, these problems only pop up because we have weak leadership. Now, I've said this to you before. If you voted for this weak leadership, it's partially your fault, and that's why we're having volatility. I am not for Trump, but please, the next election, let's pick some intelligent, strong people. The woman from, I believe, South Carolina. There's a few people out there that are really sharp. We need, yes, politicians, and we need, yes, strength, and we need high integrity. Thanks. Have a wonderful Tuesday. I hope you make a lot of money. I'm out of BNGO. I hope it goes to $10 for you if you're staying. And God bless all of you. And by the way, definitely pray for Kathy Wood. She's investing in some real innovation. I don't know if I'm going to buy any of her stocks, but I have a hunch that if I listened to Kathy Wood, I'd probably be about $3 or $4 million richer. Thanks so much.